As part of Mental Health Week, there has been another M word that we're being asked to consider. And it's possible that maybe you do it already. It's certainly talked about enough, and that's meditation. I suppose in some respects, some people might think that meditation is a bit new age, maybe even a bit voodoo-y, possibly because they don't know much about it. And it is one of those things that from time to time you hear somebody say, what you need to do is meditate. You need to chill out. We're joined by Braden Zia, who is the General Manager for Mindful Meditation Australia, otherwise known as MMA, not to be confused with mixed martial arts, I should point out, which is a philanthropically funded, not-for-profit organisation working to improve the lives and well-being of people across the country. Braden, pleasure to have you on the program. Thanks for dropping in.
Thank you so much for having me.
I suppose we ought to start from the outset by explaining meditation, because that outline, some people, I guess, think of it as being a little bit mystical, voodoo-y perhaps. What is it in simple terms?
Simple terms, and I'm going to throw in another M word called mindfulness, because I'd like to define both of them, and then I'll tell you how they kind of work together.
Cool.
Practically speaking, meditation is the active practice of learning to calm and train attention. And mindfulness is what we get from that, and that's how we use our attention in our daily lives. So practically speaking, when you're sitting in a meditation, we're tuning into the experiences, the emotions that are going on within us, and we're also training our attention because our minds wander and then we bring them back. So it's building that muscle of attention. And then mindfulness is how we experience our lives thereafter. So it's focusing how we might focus on gratitude or connecting with a loved one or one of our children, or focusing on our work, or self-regulating an unhelpful thought or emotional overreaction.
So what you're telling me is that meditation actually helps us focus and analyse in a meaningful way, rather than allowing all sorts of other different thoughts to come together which distract us and perhaps have us thinking in a negative way.
Absolutely. And I have a little activity I like to do with people. Could I run you through it right now?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Good for you to do it. It'll be neat for your listeners to do. And it's kind of a fun little exercise. So, for you and those that are listening, have you ever had an argument with somebody at home or at work and then found yourself a week later in the shower or in your car replaying that same argument in your mind, possibly saying if they ever say this to me again, I'll say this, this, and this, and how dare they, I should have said this, this, and this. Is that kind of a familiar?
For me, no, but that's only because of the kind of bloke I am. If I have an argument, I'm going to finish it. but the thing is, and this, look, I don't know where this comes from. If you and I had an argument, right, and I know that even on air, people sometimes find this funny. I can have a robust conversation with somebody on air, and they think I'm annoyed with them, and they ring up next time, and they thought, I didn't think you'd speak to me. Well, why not? Well, last time we spoke, we had an argument. It's like, did we? The reason being, once I've said, like if I'm angry with you and I say what I've said, that's it's finished. I don't sit there and dwell on it. And to be honest with you, I'm probably too lazy to hold a grudge, because that's actually hard work.
You are a very, very lucky person.
But it's not something that I learnt. It's not something that I practiced. It's just something I've always done. And I can't tell you how or why, because I don't know. The only thing I know is I never hold a grudge. Once I've had an argument, said my piece, that's it, said. And I quite frankly couldn't be bothered holding a grudge, because it's too much like hard work.
I love it. And do you want me to tell you a little bit about why some people have this problem and suffer with this overthinking issue or ruminating issue?
Can I have a guess, if you don't mind?
Yes, I'd like that.
It's because a lot of people would think that they haven't been heard. And thinking about myself, I have this way of making myself being heard, whether people want to hear it or not. And so maybe that's a bit cathartic for me. Whereas I can imagine somebody might be angry or frustrated about something and they never got to verbalise what they wanted to. So therefore there's a whole lot of stuff that's unsaid, and I'm just imagining that would just churn around inside them as a result.
It does, and it causes stress and worry. And why do you reckon that is?
Because they haven't said what they wanted to say, so there are issues unresolved as a result. That's my interpretation.
There's a bit of a primitive mechanism behind stress and worry. It's kind of prehistoric. It's actually
don't worry about the saber-toothed tiger. Listen, Brutus, get out there and kill him, will you?
That's right. It's behind something called our fight, flee, or freeze response.
Yep.
Are you familiar with that?
I am.
This is a mechanism in our brain from this thing called our amygdala, this little peanut-shaped part of our brain, which releases cortisol and adrenaline so that we can respond super fast in a life or death situation. Our amygdala kind of fires. It's like an alarm bell. However, it's primitive. It's designed to keep us alive in life or death situations, but it goes off all of the time. It goes off if we get cut off in traffic, if somebody says something that we don't like. It can go off, I should say. So really what mindfulness and meditation does is it helps us calm down and regulate that thing from going off. So we're spending less time in anxiety, stress, and worry.
Some people, when they go off, I would argue that is their release. They say something, so that's their release. They've said it, bang, it's finished. Other people, it would chew them up all day.
You're very right.
Think to yourself,
You're very right. Yeah.
Mate, the guy cut you off in traffic. Why are you going to be chewed up about that all day? This is a person that you don't know. Possibly if you met, you wouldn't like very much.
That's right.
Anyway, so where's the stress?
That's right.
Is that what it's about? Is it about learning? Look, we all have stress. Is it about learning it? For example, I know even in this job I do now, to do this job in every respect now is so much easier than it was when I first started. I would imagine that's the same in just about every job.
That's
even some of the most technologically advanced jobs, even the most scientific jobs, doing the job has been made much more simple by technology. Yet, more and more people appear to be more stressed. But we worked harder in the early days to achieve the same result. So why aren't we all chilled out? Because everything's pretty easy and all these gadgets are doing a lot of work for us. Why are we more stressed now, arguably, than at any other time in history, including when the saber-toothed tiger wanted to eat us?
Well, I think we're dealing and relating with technology in a bit of a different way now. Nottingham Trent University did a study, and it was a study out of Harvard. They have had people check their phones, and they were to check in and note if they were thinking about something than they're actually supposed to be doing. And when they checked in, they were to write down what they were thinking about. And 50% of the time, they were thinking about something that other than what they were doing, and it was often something negative. And I think really why? I think we as humans, we want to keep ourselves safe. And that used to be the saber-toothed tiger, but now is it, do I have enough money? Am I secure in my job? Are my kids doing okay? We turn all of these kind of little things, most people, not all people, and you're very lucky if you're not one of them, but we turn them into things that are potentially bigger than they need to be. And they can become a little bit overwhelming.
In other words, we lose perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Makes it tough for a lot of people. But then again, everything you're mentioning, that's been an issue for people for generations. You know, I mean, we talk about the good old days, but let's be honest. Let's think about our great-great-grandparents. Braden, do you want to live like your great-great-grandparents did? Because I sure as hell don't want to live like mine did. You know why? Because we had nothing. We didn't even have basic sanitation then. It was like, hello, I hope I don't get the bubonic plague. And thank God our ancestors survived it. Otherwise, we'd all be dead.
But perhaps we had better community. Perhaps we were able to connect in and hang out with people and be with people in a much broader way than we are now. We're a bit isolated, even though we have...
stressing out about the credit card payments having more of an effect than worrying about the fact that the village had an outbreak of bubonic plague. Somebody's going down the road, bring out your dad. I don't know about you. I reckon that would be far more stressful.
It would be very stressful. It would be very stressful. But being Mental Health Week, we do know that mental health and stress-related mental health issues are a big thing.
That's. I mean, I accept that it's getting worse, but that's the bit that's doing my head in, because arguably, at no other time in history have we been able to better control our lives and circumstances than we can now. We can do so through scientific advancements. Diseases that we routinely feared and perhaps would kill our forebears are diseases that we only read about in the annals of history now. All the things, all the trials and tribulations that they faced, we don't face, yet arguably our mental health has been never more fragile. And once again, I suppose we get back to that single question that kids often ask, why?
And maybe we're not faced with the same resilience challenges we used to be. And maybe it's partly due to lack of a resilience. And, and I think this is where practices like mindfulness and meditation are important, because it's about stopping, slowing things down, and just taking some time to self-reflect and course correct if need be.
How do you do that? For example, if you're somebody who's got 1,001 things and they're just hitting your head like zap, 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 zap. And what you're effectively saying is, as part of that, is just to be able to wind down and relax and get your mind, turn your mind off, so to speak. How do you do that, especially if you're really feeling stressed and if you're really feeling the pressure, whatever the pressure may be?
So one thing that's very, very powerful for me personally, as many times as I remember to do it throughout the day, I stop. I notice where I'm at in my stress response. Is my heart rate elevated? Am I kind of tense in my shoulders? I close my eyes and I take 3 to 5 really long and slow, deep breaths and really just consciously try to relax myself each time I exhale. And creating a bit of a relationship with that relaxation response, it's done me wonders personally for my mental health and well-being. And it creates, a bit more of a calm atmosphere throughout the day, which is nice.
Now, obviously, we can't have some hard and fast facts and figures here because I accept that there's a certain subjectivity to the next question. However, if the average person was able to meditate to such an extent that they could, and the term I'll use here is de-stress because I think we understand what that means, what sort of impact do you believe we could reasonably expect to be reflected in an improved mental health if that happened?
So, interesting data has come out. So 6 weeks of a meditation course, we've been actually able to see brain density growth in an area of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, which is an area of our brain associated with our values, our personality, our ability to pay attention and focus. So 6 to 8 weeks, we've been able to see that part of the brain get physically denser. Meditation's being used right now for pain management. Hospitals are using it. We had a participant.
Is that best described as mind over matter?
Yeah, potentially, which would be
pain,
part of.
If you're meditating to get rid of pain, you're not using a pharmaceutical or any other form of a medical solution to overcoming it. I guess we're talking about mind over matter.
That's absolutely right. And one of the ways they're using it clinically, and we had a participant who had suffered burns recently. Exactly. Instead of taking medication, they were having her meditate through her dressings being changed. And through that, what she was doing is just checking in. They were having her notice what the pain felt like, what temperature it was it throbbing, was it sharp? And by her really analyzing and I guess taking it into a deeper consideration, it was changing her relationship with it. So instead of it just hurting and being unbearable, it would change, it would move. And from that awareness, she was able to cope with it in a different way.
Isn't that incredible? I can imagine there'd be many circumstances because we often get phone calls from people who suffer chronic pain. And there's no doubt it's debilitating. And if you can find some way to conquer it, that's got to be good. It's got to be better than, say, for example, taking a powerful analgesic, which may well do the job, but it's going to have other physical impacts on you, and it's also going to impinge your ability to enjoy your life, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, you've got several events coming up in the not-too-distant future, and you've also got some workshops. I'm just looking here and I'm thinking Braden Zia is about to be a very busy man.
I hope so. We for Mental Health Week, we were offering 80% off of all of our training because we really just want to get this stuff out there in a big way. We are a not-for-profit, and we're a true not-for-profit, and that really we do try to get this out there to as many people as we can. We work primarily with teachers in schools.
Yep.
But for Mental Health Week, we have a families workshop. We go into organizations and work with the people in the organization. And of course, we work with schools. So we've trained about 3,000 teachers across WA who have gone on to teach 11,000 young people. Just really simple breathing techniques, techniques to check in, notice how they feel and calm, which has made an incredible impact on schools across WA.
I can believe that. The website,
mindfulmeditationaustralia.org.au.
So it's all one word, mindfulmeditationaustralia.org. That's .org.au. Braden Zia, thank you very much for your time.
That's great. Thank you so much for having us. And also, if you can, check us out on Facebook. All of our stuff is there, and it's quite easy to get in touch with us through that medium as well. Thank you so much for having us. It's been really nice talking to you.
Rugby League's newest team is here, the Coolangatta Koalas. But before they can join the comp that we can't legally name, Coach Wendell Saylor must get the Koalas up to scratch.
Does anyone know how to give a post-match interview?
I do, Del.
Congratulations, tough game tonight.
Yeah, it was. But despite a dazzling display of on-field proficiency from our opponents, I reckon the Koalas competently executed a preconceived strategy that earned an equitable victory.
Well, that's different. I like it. Okay, Koalas, time to practice our team song. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We are Koalas, live out our mums. We got 4 toes and opposable thumbs.
Oh, beautiful. Brings a tear to my eye. We still need to find home ground, or we'll be disqualified.
Dill, did you say disqualified?
Stop it, guys.
Is it because we don't have the right qualifications?
Seriously, I can't bear it anymore.
Oh, good one, Dill.
Follow the Koala's journey at wwos.9.com.au/koala.